Hi, thanks for joining me to talk about AAC user competencies. So these are big goals, big areas our AAC users need to have skills and knowledge in order to be the most successful they can. My name is Jessica Broderick. I'm a speech language pathologist and assistive technology specialist out in Western Nebraska. So this is the whole theme of this webinar series that I'm doing, is that we want to move our students using AAC from being present in the classroom to being competitive in the classroom and being able to compete with their peers and be active participants and create new knowledge and show what they know. Special thanks to the Nebraska Assistive Technology Partnership for letting me share this information with you. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about competencies. That's pretty much it. So there's four big ones: linguistic, operational, social, and strategic. And those come from Janice Light, which is research that has been around since 1989, so about 30 years or so. And then in 2009, there was another research study done by Sarah Blackstone and David Wilkins that added a fifth area of social emotional competence. So, as we talk more and more currently about social emotional learning and trauma-informed practices and those kinds of things, this other area of emphasis of social emotional was added. So we will start with linguistic competence. So this linguistic competence is the skills in the language spoken by that student's family and their community. These are our traditional language therapy skills: receptive skills and expressive skills. We're focusing on content, form, and use, how we use words and join them together to form a message. So this is our first competency. It's essentially language skills. So when you're looking at how do we choose goals in this area for kids, you might be using assessments like the ABLS-R, which is the Assessment of Basic Language and Learning Skills Revised. You might be using the VB-MAP, which is Verbal Behavior Milestones and Program Planning. These might come from traditional speech language evaluations, whatever you're using, the SELF, the OWLS, any of those kinds of things. Or you might also be looking at different vocabulary inventories. So I just want to show you these two really quickly. These are both available as handouts that you have. So this is a preschool vocabulary selection questionnaire to work through with parents, caregivers, those kinds of people. It gets at what people does your child communicate with? What do they call those people? What friends do they have? What places do you go? What activities do they like? What toys do they like? What school materials? So this gives you some ideas of goals and words to target. Kind of same thing here with school age vocabulary selection. This asks what kind of symbols they're using. What words does the child need to use? What people are in the family? Where does mom work? Where does dad work? What do you like to do with parents? What are your grandparents called? What pets do you have? Other important people, those kinds of things. So when you're looking at teaching linguistic skills and writing linguistic goals, you could get that information from any of those places. So I have at the end of each section just some examples to give you some ideas of how you might write these goals and what they might entail. So a student will use his core word communication board to express sentences of at least 3 words. So goals getting at how long are utterances and expanding utterance length. You might have goals about using modifiers like plural S, past tense ED, present progressive ING. Using prepositions during spontaneous speech, more of an advanced AAC user. If given options, can they pick a preferred activity? Or when something is frustrating to them, they're able to use their device to ask for the supports that they need. So that is linguistic competency and some sample goals and skills you might work on in that area. Next, operational competency. So these are skills in actually physically using whatever system they have. So this is what their hand and their body has to do to get that going. It's how they adjust settings or don't adjust them. And I have a little meme on the right that says, "You left my device in edit mode and I deleted everything." And when I do this presentation in person, I always ask for a show of hands if that's ever happened to you. And I wish I had like 5 hands to raise, because I can't tell you how many times I've done that. So this is, can they adjust the volume? So if they're using their device in the library, they have it on quiet, but if they're maybe out like at the YMCA or in the community, they're able to turn it up. Can they plug it in? Do they know how to plug it in? Do they know how to charge it? Do they know how to put it on the charger? Can they, if it's something in a case, can they make it lay down, or can they make it stand up, or any of those things that operationally are important to being successful. So when you're choosing goals for this area, you're just going to want to analyze the students' students' independence. So how independent are they? Do you have to charge the device for them? Can they turn it on? Can they transport it? So think about the things that you are doing for the kid and what would be more ideal if they could do themselves. What would make them more independent? So that could be really a variety of things, just depending on your student. You might also do a task analysis for those needed skills. So if the objective is to turn up the volume or turn down the volume, either one on the device, your task analysis might be push settings button, push volume, use up or down arrows, close out of settings. And so that you might do some task analyses for those skills that you're looking at and see what steps the student can do independently and what you still need to work on. So example goals. Adjusting the volume to accommodate the noise level of the environment. If they're using a high-tech dynamic display thing, that they'll be able to navigate from this screen to at least 4 other screens to get to where they need to be or what they want to talk about. And then also like using built-in features like word predictions. So a student might type in 3 letters, look at the prediction window and select the desired word or keep typing. And people always are like, oh, that kind of seems complicated. For some reason, that kind of goal freaks people out a little bit, but this is what we do with our cell phones all the time. So the text prediction in a cell phone is just the same as on an AAC device. So can that student use built-in features like text prediction or maybe a word finder, if they can't find the vocabulary they're looking for? Almost every system has a built-in, help me find this kind of feature. And so can they use those kind of features? Social competence. So this is the social skills involved with using an AAC system. So can they take on those different communication roles depending on what the situation is? This is turn taking, this is initiating communication, this is responding to communication, and all the functions we use communication for. So can they use their system to obtain things, to refuse things, to give information, to request information, and those kinds of things. So choosing goals to address social competence might come from the ABLES R. There's a section on social roles in there. There's also a few resources I am linking you to. The first is a social skills profile, which is a handout that's provided to you. And it says for autism, but it's really, I love it for any kids or student who's maybe struggling with social skills. So you get the demographic information, and then people are asked to rank the child never, sometimes, often, or very often. And so then you're just looking at what different skill areas. So do they ask other kids to play with them? Do they maintain personal hygiene? Do they ask questions about another person? Do they interact with a group of peers? Can they express sympathy? recognize facial expressions, maintain eye contact, offer assistance. So all of these social skills things that we might be needing to work on with kids, especially with our AAC users, that so they know they don't always have to just wait for somebody to come up and initiate conversations with them. So I really like that checklist, AAC user or not. That's a great one if you're working with kids who have needs in the area of social skills. The communication matrix is a website. I love this assessment. It can be found just at communicationmatrix.org or in a Google search. I want to show you that. It is free, but I think that message just said they might start charging a nominal fee. So if you want to use it quickly. So let me go to assessment. You can, I don't think I want to sign in because that would tell you student information. So anyways, it asks a number of questions about different communicative functions and then how the student communicates that. So if it's by like a pre-vocal or pre-verbal, like a grunt, a cry, a scream, a squeal, or if they use like body movement. So if they want something, maybe they'll move towards you or reach their hand out. If they can use sign, if they can use like real life photographs or objects or verbal language. So it looks at all the different functions of communication and all the different ways you could communicate that. So I want to show you, I think my next slide is an example. So you go through and you input into the website how the student does with all of those things, and you get a report that looks like this. So they rank communication on levels 1 through 7. So pre-intentional behavior, intentional, unconventional communication, which might be like the reaching for something, conventional communication, using concrete symbols, so like a real life picture of a block or a toy or something, an abstract symbol, and then do they use language. And so you rank them on if they have done this, like, yeah, we're past this level, or they've mastered it, or it's an emerging skill, or they're not using it. So in my sample report here, you can see that my student has pretty much mastered using conventional communication. So those are gestures or nonverbals that we as a community know mean, that we know what they mean. So that would be like giving you a thumbs up. Like universally, people in my culture know that that means yes or good job or something like that. So this student has mastered conventional communications to refuse items, to obtain items, and for some social skills and some informational type questions. So answers yes and no questions. We've got that. And then we jump down to level 5, and you can see that this student can use concrete symbols to refuse something or obtain something, but we're not really using them for any social kinds of things yet. So if you look at C8, like request attention, that we're not using any symbols to do that, to show affection, to greet people. So there are some skills with symbols, but not a lot of skills with symbols. And so this whole social section of this could give you some goals for social competence. It also is just a really good assessment if you're evaluating a student. It makes you a nice, pretty color-coded report that you can kind of work with teams and families to develop some goals and show year to year, you know, here's where we were last year, here's all the things we've mastered this year, and here's where I want to go from here. So that also, excuse me, has a printable version of the assessment, so you could print it, have different team members fill it out, and kind of put together the information from there. Some examples of some social competency goals. Use an AAC system to ask a partner-focused question. So what do you think? So that would be a social skill of obtaining socially polite information, inviting a peer to play, taking 3 to 4 conversational turns on topic, greet people when they enter or leave the room. So those are some things that you might have as sample social competency goals. Next, strategic competency. So this gets at, I don't know if you can see my dog picture here over my picture. But so this is how they handle breakdowns, how they repair communication, or what they're doing if the word that they need or the phrase that they need is just not there. So how do we handle those things when things go wrong? So really choosing goals for this would come from making observations of the student, role playing, a safe communication breakdown, and how do they handle that, and maybe where could they gain some skills. So examples of this might be when communicating with unfamiliar partners, a student would use his device rather than signing. And so, that might be if you're working with a transition age student and you're going to the post office, to understand that not everybody that you're going to encounter in the community understands sign language. And so there are different situations where you might have to use your device, but with, home with your family or with your teachers or friends or whoever, you can sign because they understand that. So understanding some of those things. If there's a communication breakdown, going to a pre-stored message that says, oh, that's not what I meant, or, oh, wait, I need to tell you more. So being able to repair those breakdowns when they happen, using a message to ask somebody to wait while they form their whole message if they have a lot to say, or changing topic, like practicing changing topic, or where on their device do you say, I'm going to talk about something different, things like that. Social emotional competence. So this is, as the name would lead you to believe, that emotional vocabulary. How do our students relay their feelings, beliefs, and thoughts? And I have all of these lovely characters that with this hashtag, I can do more than request. And so, model disgust, because sometimes I need to say, ooh, that's gross, or that smells bad. Anger is natural part, so give them the words to tell other people that they're angry or express angry. And how do they communicate when they're disappointed or sad or things like that. So choosing goals for these kinds of situations, you might be using a social emotional curriculum, or if that student is working with a school counselor or a therapist or something like that. If this is something that student needs, this would obviously be a pretty important teaching point about this kind of vocabulary. So some examples here, identifying 4 new emotional states when given a scenario and saying, how would that make a person feel? So being able to identify emotions in others, being able to identify emotions in self. So if you get together on a Friday and say, I've written down 4 things that, that happened this week. How did each of these make you feel? Tell me about some things this week that made you feel happy, some things that were frustrating. If there was anything that made you feel sad, anything exciting, those kinds of things. And then independently request at least one regulation tool after they've self-identified that they're in the blue, yellow, or red zone, which wording comes from the zones of regulation curriculum. Okay, a few additional resources that are the kind of fast and furious overview of where you might write goals, where we want students to be competent AAC users, but there's a lot. I think there's always questions about what kind of goals do we write, what areas do I need to cover, and so I hope that is helpful. I think I have 2 additional resources to show you as far as choosing goals or progress monitoring or assessment. One is this communication supports inventory. It can be found on the web at icfcy.org/AAC. It's the International Classification of Functioning for Children and Young Adults or something like that. But anyways, it is for students who are AAC users, and you want to assess how their communication barriers affect them in different areas of life. So I am going to just download a PDF copy of this. So this again, totally free. You can see at the bottom, you can use it online, which is when you would go in and fill it out. But I will caution you that you don't, you don't make an account or anything. And so once you log into it, you need to be able to finish it just then. So I would encourage you to download the PDF first, talk to your team, work through that kind of stuff, and then go in and fill it out online to get your report. So there's all the information about what it is, where it came from. And so then it looks at what kind of restriction does that student have because of their communication disorder or limitation in these different areas. So it looks at all the things you might be doing in school. And so you rate their restriction, like they're actually better at this than their typical peer. They have no restriction. It's mild, moderate, severe, or complete. Like the student has not been able to do this at all. And then you can mark on the far right if it's something that the team really wants to prioritize for instruction. So it goes through a bunch of different areas, actually. There's school-related activities, interpersonal interaction, receptive language, expressive language, functions of communication, so refusing, rejecting, gaining attention, getting more, exchanging information, following the rules of social interaction, receptive strategies for AAC, expressive strategies for AAC, motor access, any impairments in body function and sensory kinds of things. And then at the end, if you rate what kind of environmental factors might be affecting the student's progress as well. So you rate each of these things as either this is a strength, it's helpful for the student, or this is a barrier. So that's just it's a very thorough assessment. It's a nice assessment. And like I said, you would print that off and fill that out as a team, and then you can go in and fill it out online and get their nice little report. The other one I've provided to you in handout form. This is the DAG2. It is the Dynamic AAC Goals Grid. And this is actually a resource from Toby Dynavox, and I love it. So there's some information about how to use it. But so you rate that AAC user in 5 ability levels. So they have emergent transitional, context dependent, transitional independent, or independent. So your user would be ranked as one of those 5 areas, and it gives you, different qualities or ways to meet that. And then they're ranked in 5 different areas. So understanding language, using language, social interaction, literacy, and then just other skills, some of those operational kinds of skills. And so a student might be context dependent for this and transitional independent for that. They don't have to be the same category across all 5 ability levels. And so you look at that, you rank them there. And then you can mark them, so maybe for understanding we're context dependent, but expressive we're transitional, social we're transitional. So you can kind of rate them there. And then here are goals, just a beautiful bank of goals. And so if you've ranked this student as an emergent transitional in linguistic competency, here are some things that you might be working on. And then you can mark if the goal is mastered. So say I want to work on this goal. And these are levels of prompting, and they do give you a key down at the bottom. So with an indirect cue, a direct verbal, a pointer cue, or with a physical assist. So how do you want them to be able to do that? So maybe they need a direct verbal cue. And so you can keep this with students throughout the years to kind of track goals and see progress. Again, all 5 areas that you rank them on and all 5 levels. So this is just a beautiful, beautiful bank of goals. I'd encourage you to check that out. Toby Dynavox did an awesome job with that. Thought to leave you with, this is a quote from Buchelman and Miranda. Technology alone does not make a competent communicator any more than a piano makes a musician or a basketball and a hoop make an athlete. So I just want to challenge you to really think about the goals we are making for those students, and making sure they're appropriately challenging, and that we're addressing all of the aspects that need addressed, and that we really are challenging those students and giving them high expectations, and making sure that we are really teaching them our expectations and giving them strategies and supports. So thank you for sticking with me today. I appreciate your time. I hope this has helped you in some way. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email me at jessica.sorpt@gmail.com, and we can talk more about user competencies and goal setting. Thanks.
Thank you for watching this webinar. For more information on the ATP Education Program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.